Today is Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Winners at War, Week 6.
This episode's titled Quick on the Draw, and that's spoken by Jeremy in reference to being ready to play the safety advantage. We start out at Yara on day 15. This is a 2-day cycle of the game, and Ben tells us we can do whatever we want now. Adam exclaims, "There are no more Boston Rob rules." Ben tells us he was so tired of being treated like a rookie. He's all about having fun and
he got no respect.
And building relationships now. And it turns out that Sarah and Sophie are good people.
And he likes good people.
Adam. This is where we get the Wicked Witch reference from the next time on Survivor. The Wicked Witch is dead. But he's noticing that Ben's getting closer with Sophie and Sarah. And he tells us he's barely talking to me. This is actually worse than when Boston Rob was here. So Adam's experience is dramatically different, 180 from Ben's.
Yeah, he better go to work then, hadn't he? Okay, out on Edge of Extinction, there's another chance to earn a token. And Tyson wants to find a token.
Yep, they get their clue. There's something hidden on the edge. You got to turn over all the stones. You got to be at the right place at the right time, which turns out to be the really important piece to pay attention to.
And Rob interprets that as being up high and the edge having a double meaning. But Tyson stays out on the rocks and he focuses more on right place, right time, which he interprets to mean the tide.
Yep, he actually catches a glimpse of it while Boston Rob's looking right at him. And so he pretends to tinkle, he tells us, so that Boston Rob will go on ahead. And then he stuffs the fire token, what he thinks is the fire token, into his man panties, he tells us. Turns out it's actually an idol nullifier that he can sell for 1 fire token.
And attaboy, Parvati buys it, he offers it up, she takes it, and he buys the jar of peanut butter.
What everyone was wondering. So you think that was his best choice? As opposed to buying an advantage in the challenge?
I think it'll go a long way to helping him keep his strength up, getting that protein and the fat and all of that, and just his overall feelings. And you know he loves to be sneaky, so it's going to make him happy. He'll have more endorphins every time he runs off and gets a big old mouthful of
peanut butter with this shell that he's using to scrape out of there. That's a big jar of peanut butter.
And you're like, they're going to smell it on him. I said I wouldn't get anywhere near them. I would stay far away. Oh, no.
I know. You'll have peanut butter burps or something that'll give it away. The smell of food, because in the past, different castaways have said they could smell. I don't
think I've ever had a peanut butter burp.
You just haven't combined it with the right ingredients, I guess, to experience that.
I imagine they have water and rice, so maybe a little fish, but I don't think that's... Okay, never mind, we digress.
Yeah, well...
Carry on.
You get burps when you drink coffee because you gulp air when you're drinking your coffee. If he
says you.
He gulps air while he's drinking his water, he could end up burping it out.
True. It's always a possibility.
And we know that castaways have said before that they've been able to smell like a candy bar on someone in production. So, because they're so attuned to that after not having it around that they pick up on that. So, I think he's going to find it hard to hide that. But exactly what you said is how Tyson breaks it down for us. He's anticipating it boosting his spirits, and he does love being sneaky and hilarious. And he's happy to pass that idol nullifier on to Parvati. And then, bam, day 16, time for the immunity challenge, because we got 2 tribal councils we're going to have to deal with. So
True.
let's get going. Thankfully, Edge of Extinction was somewhat short. Okay, we get a big reaction that we'd already seen in the previews when when Probst identified Rob as the one that got voted out. And then he starts giving Wendell a hard time because Wendell's about to throw the skull back to him instead of walking it over. So what did you think about this challenge?
I thought it was a good challenge. It was a hard challenge.
They start out
Nothing
on some
easy about it.
platforms, and they've got to swim over to a boat, and then one person gets up in the boat and unloads 3 big bags of rice.
Go Denise.
They've got to move that rice through the water, and then they come up to a cage, and there's a small hole in the metal wall there that they've got to squeeze the rice through. So they got to. There's enough space in the bag, just enough that they can shift the rice to make the bag smaller and then work it through. But somebody's got to get on both sides, so folks have to climb over the big wall and help them work through it. So they get through that obstacle, and they bring all 3 bags up, and then they can open them. And then inside of each of the 3 bags is a ball, and then they've got to land those 3 balls in one of those balance mazes where they've got 2 handles and a wooden platform that's a maze, and there's all kinds of opportunities to drop the balls out through the bottom of the maze.
We actually chose the right team that was going to lose. We thought the green team would win.
Mm-hmm.
And Sophie was very good at that.
Sophie was, I guess you're just sort of jumping to the end there, but Sophie guessed what the combined reward was before Probst revealed it. She was anticipating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and that is indeed what Probst reveals. Great big old sandwiches, too.
Oh, I bet she
Those
smelled it from a mile away.
Like we were just saying. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Sandra sits out on the Sandra sit-out bench, and Michele joins her. And Sele gets off to an early lead, and they end up being able to transition that big bag of rice through that small hole there in the wire cage wall. And they were the first to get all 3 bags through, but Dakal caught up, and then Yara was in last. They were struggling quite a bit.
They were, which meant nothing.
But it added to the drama.
It did.
Ben got to work ripping those bags open, and they get the 3 balls, and Wendell and Ben get to work. And then Sele and Yara are working on that, and then Dakal was the last to get their bags up there.
Yeah, they were behind then.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick and Sophie got started on the maze first, and then Jeremy popped in after they got all the balls. And Nick got the first ball.
Yep. And then Wendell, and then Nick took a turn again, and then
Why was
Sophie.
Wendell talking smack? Jeff said he's talking smack and dropped the ball.
Yeah, well, he was trying to be real dramatic and finish it off, and then he dropped it. But Sophie landed the first one for Yara, and then Adam got one, got the second, and then Sophie came back up, and like you said, she finished it off to win.
You go, girl. Sophie's been quite impressive lately.
Yeah, she's really shining in this episode. So, like you said, Yara wins immunity, and then Adam tells us this is like winning 2 immunities because you miss out on 2 tribal councils.
I think she willed it because of the peanut butter. Sophie was determined. She was the one carrying the bag of rice. Adam, maybe had a hand on it from, the boat over to... But Sophie was carrying that thing through the water.
Yeah. Yep. She was determined to win, and she did great.
I don't blame her. I love peanut butter, too.
Back at Sele there on day 16, Parvati's talking about how rough the immunity challenge was, and she says that she's feeling really alone there on her tribe. And we see Wendell, Nick, and Yul talking, and they're agreeing that they're going to write down Parv's name. Nick tells us he's bummed. He didn't want to lose Parvati. He was looking forward to playing with her.
He wanted to play with her.
Guess it's her, though. Aw, shucks.
But he'll do it because he's close to the others.
Cut to Michele and Parvati. They're strategizing. They're trying to find a fracture, and Parvati tells us Yul is not open. When I talk to him, his arms are crossed or his legs are crossed. He's giving me body language that says that there's no opportunity there.
No openings here.
Yep. And so they settle on Nick. He's the only option.
Which is what I had thought Parv would try to work Nick.
Michelle's wondering if she can save Parvati, and if she can't save Parvati, is there some way she can benefit during the loss. So
Well,
she makes a pitch to Wendell. What did you think about this?
That's exactly what she's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So even though, people will probably go, oh, she's underhanded, but that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So,
if the writing's on the
good
wall,
on her, yeah.
how can you make the best of a bad situation? What did you think about that exchange between Michele and Wendell right here? Where she tells him, I'm going to vote you so that I can get Parvati's fire tokens.
Well, I wouldn't have told him. I would have just asked for forgiveness after. Just do it and then go, but Wendell, I was just I knew you were safe. That wasn't a vote against you. It was a vote for me to get fire tokens.
For us, for our alliance.
How can you not see that?
Right, yeah.
That's a lot easier to ask for forgiveness.
Rather than just telling someone
don't tell him up.
They're going to end up with 2 votes, which Wendell gets pretty upset with.
Yeah.
That's one from going. So, no, that does not feel comfortable. You can tell he's not happy because he says, well, yeah, maybe you should just go with that 16-day relationship that you've been building with Parvati.
Yeah.
That may be real. Yes. Michele gives and she gives and she gives and he just takes. Oh my goodness.
What's wrong with this scenario?
That's what she says, at least in her confessional.
Okay, so Parv approaches Wendell, talks to him, and were you surprised that he offered his vote for a couple tokens?
I didn't anticipate it for sure. I guess that it's not so much surprise. I guess it qualifies. I wasn't really thinking of it playing out that way. It was interesting. I like the initiative, but unfortunately, they could not come up with any basis of trust. And when you can't establish some element of trust, then you just can't really pull the deal off.
I don't think he would have done it if she'd given him
I think
tokens.
he would have taken her tokens.
I do too. But I think he would have still voted her out. I really do feel like he would have done that. And I think she probably did too.
Maybe. We'll never know for sure.
Well, she said she couldn't trust.
But that's enough for her. That's something she can work with.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's all she needed was some ammunition to be able to tell the truth and to go over and tell Nick, hey, I could have bought his vote.
Wendell wants 2 tokens for his vote, which, dang it, Nick says, something to that effect.
Yep.
And it's interesting because Nick says, well, he's acting like Tyson. So Tyson was pulling snaky things like that, I guess. So and Nick says that makes him dangerous.
Yep, and Nick did make you think that he was considering going with the girls, but...
So Parv hits him, and then Michele hits him. At least that's the sequence. So it looked like they were tag teaming him in a subtle way, just separately, individually. Michele goes to Nick with the idea about voting out Wendell, and they discuss it at least. He's a hidden threat in the way he gets discussed.
So they leave us hanging there while we run over to Dakal. And
everybody's sorry about losing the challenge, but Sandra says, oh, that doesn't matter. That bread was probably stale. Those sandwiches were no good,
yeah,
Kim.
They were no good.
Or Denise, whoever it was she was talking to.
I think it was Kim. Kim was the one fixated on the peanut butter.
One of the peanut butter, yeah.
Yeah, some people love peanut butter.
What'd you think about Tony's response? He's getting antsy.
He's got to go to his spy bunker.
Needs some information, so he goes and sets up a spy bunker at the well. And then they have a discussion.
And nobody saw it, even though they expected him to be
they were on
spying
guard.
Around somewhere.
They even said, don't say anything while we're at the well. That's what Sandra says at one point.
He's always around the well.
So
don't
he
say
didn't,
anything
he didn't get busted, but it didn't seem to benefit him in any way.
Nope. Other than he got everyone's attention on him distrustingly.
Yeah.
For just disappearing, and they know he's up to something.
That's the trade-offs.
That's
what you're always having to weigh. If I do this, it could mean that. Could I end up better or worse? Better or worse? Like this or like this?
So Sandra didn't try to hide it with Jeremy that,
nope.
Yeah, it's probably going to go that way, Jeremy.
Yep.
How's that going to impact you?
And that's basically when we get the title, I think, was right around there. Where he says he's going to have his safety without power with him, and he'll just need to be quick on the draw if it's needed. Certainly Denise is uneasy because it's obvious that Denise and Jeremy, being in the minority numbers-wise, would come up as targets.
I liked how Sandra told Denise, "You're really a nice person."
You're a wonderful person, she said.
And Denise
She was
responds,
being voted
"But
out.
you're going to vote me off tonight, right?"
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me.
I wonder if that set the gears working in Denise's head when Sandra did that.
I think there's a lot going on in Denise's head that you're not privy to.
Sure. Well, all these players are pretty savvy.
Yes.
Working moves ahead.
And I like that she said, "Well, of course I don't want to vote Jeremy, but I will if I need to.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to, I will." And he said the same. "Well, yeah, I don't want to vote Denise, but I will if I need to."
Everybody's getting a bad vibe, including Sandra, and she tells them, "Don't talk at the well."
So when it came right down to it, Kim wasn't going to go with Jeremy and Denise. She was staying strong with Tony and Sandra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I really thought she was considering it more than that, but she didn't seem to be today.
Jeremy tells Tony he's getting worked up for nothing. Your name's not even coming up. When he eventually pops back out from his spy shack after making everybody nervous.
Well, and it does give Kim a moment's pause to go with somebody that's acting like him, that he gets so nuts on tribal council day.
Sandra tells us she's undecided on Denise. Should be easy, and then we see them talking, and they strike a bargain. Immunity for 2 fire tokens.
I thought, Sandra.
We've heard this 2 fire token deal just earlier over at the other tribe for different stakes, but Sandra wants to cut that deal for those 2 fire tokens.
Well, that's good. This is the first time we've really got to see a lot of negotiating going on around the fire tokens.
There's a lot of fire token action this week for sure. Sandra wants to keep her hands clean, though. She doesn't want any credit for selling that to Denise.
She wants her tribe to think she's tight with them and that she wasn't out for self-gain.
Denise is definitely intrigued. She tells us it's the first game-changing move she might have an opportunity to make.
Well,
and I like how they did the deal, and I like how Denise managed it. 1 token before.
1 token before and 1 after if it's good.
Right.
And Sandra's like, "Yeah, no problem."
Sure.
And I thought, and you still got it for 1 token.
And it was only good for 1 tribal council. That was the
Sandra didn't tell her that.
We didn't get to see that, and we didn't get to see the response. I would have liked to have seen how that played out, but being safe that night is pretty important, so it's not like it wasn't worth it.
I really enjoyed that exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I thought both ladies handled it very well. Though I thought Sandra was a little nuts to go ahead and
give up her security.
Believe that she was
confident,
that safe.
Yeah.
But she was, and she did.
I think some of that has got to be credit to how Denise managed it.
I think so too, and played it down.
Like she said, her choice to play it humble.
Okay, so now we're taking Sele into tribal council.
They're on night 16. Wendell gets asked the question by Probst, "What is the theme for this season? How are you seeing it come together?" So he goes back to his common mantra of
pre-existing relationships, blah blah.
And then he makes an interesting choice. I don't know where this was coming from. Hopefully we'll get a little more insight to it. But he keeps talking, and might have served himself better if he had just answered the question and been done with it. But he keeps talking and says that he's compartmentalizing and he's ready to stab people in the back.
Anyone.
And the front.
And do anything to win, which he should be willing to. But to talk about it so openly.
You don't need to be sharing your
at tribal council
like that unless you're putting on an act.
Well, he's telling me right now, here to my face, he's going to stab me in the back or in the front or anywhere he can stab me just to beat me.
When you hear people say, "I just," or "just anything," it's usually a red flag. When you hear people say, "I'm keeping it real," or "just keeping it real," that's a big red flag. You need to especially watch out for those kinds of warnings that people are offering to you. They're trying to differentiate themselves in the course of the conversation or an argument, but this just didn't seem to serve Wendell well at all, in my opinion.
Well, and Michele always seems to be covering herself. Well, we're all different from each other.
Well, I liked how Nick looked at it. He said, that may not be the right approach for this season. You need to figure out what the right approach is based on what the people you're playing with value.
I'd be like, yeah, let him go right ahead.
Her response was, I look at the game differently than Wendell, so I'm not going to make that choice.
And Parv, who is still trying to stay, says she just wants to work with someone who wants to strategize and work with her, like Nick has always wanted to do.
Fun to work with. That's what she's looking for.
Let's have some fun. But then, don't you think Wendell was I felt like he was a little bit harsh and that he was speaking directly to Michele. Well, some people should appreciate
keeping it real.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why you chose to view that as Michele. It seemed to be more directed in
Parvati did too.
Response to Parvati than Michele at that point. But
well, I didn't think that's how it was edited. I thought it was edited to make us feel that way.
It was definitely edited to make you not like Wendell.
True.
And it seemed like he was interrupting Parvati or other people at multiple points in the tribal council. I don't know if that was real, but I had the distinct sense that the edit was there to make you not like Wendell this episode.
Yeah, for whatever reason. But that happens periodically.
Parvati even brings up that Wendell and Michele had a history. And Michele says, when Wendell and I talk, it is not a cushy exchange on either end.
And Wendell admitted that he told Parvati that he'd give her his vote for two tokens.
While he was keeping it real, yes.
Yeah.
I liked that he made that an live offer. And Wendell Yul enjoyed it too. That caught his attention.
Yeah.
Well, this just got interesting. Neither one of them could act, though, so that it ends up being a bust again.
Well, Wendell would have loved it if he had also gotten the 2 tokens that Michele was wanting so badly. If he'd voted Parvati out and managed to get those 2 tokens, he would have really loved it.
Do you think Parv should have offered something?
No.
Do you think she knew that she was in big jeopardy?
I think she did, yeah.
Then I don't understand why she wouldn't try to make an active play. Do you really lose? You're going to lose your fire tokens anyway.
Well, yeah, but I think she just didn't want to give him the satisfaction at that point.
Right. That's emotional.
I don't think she
what if
believed
it could
him
have
at all.
swayed things?
Well, I think she didn't for whatever reason, and we can't ask her.
She didn't take advantage of each opportunity that she had. That's what I'm left with, and looking at that. Starting to make Yul feel uncomfortable at this point, though. He said it's like watching parents bicker. And Probst picks on Michele, asks her if she's emotionally distressed. She says that she's hurting someone, and she doesn't want to do that. And I like Nick's response. This is winners at war. Grow a backbone.
If you don't backstab them, they'll backstab you. So play the game.
Time to vote. Parvati holds on to her idol nullifier.
Well, what else is she going to do with it?
Well, we know that no one there has an idol, but she doesn't.
Yep.
How'd you like how the votes came in?
I don't think it was surprising, and I was at least proud of Michele that she went ahead and voted Wendell.
Yeah.
And it did work out for her. Parvati gave them to her. So, good for you.
That's right. Parvati ends up bequeathing 3 fire tokens to Michele as she makes her exit from tribal council. And Probst says, get out. There's another group coming in.
Now, whatever Parvati texted to her tonight, I have no idea. But if she knew in real time.
What are you talking about?
When she saw that Michele was working her for those tokens.
Oh, okay. Now it's time for Dakal's tribal council. Kim gets the theme question. Probst didn't have 2 sets of questions. He had the same basic ones to kick it off for each tribe. And Kim tells us the theme from her perspective is threats, the big threats versus the non-threats. And Sandra clarifies and says, well, there are the huge threats like me and Tony and Kim and Jeremy. And then there are the minor threats like Michele and Nick and, well, Denise sitting here with us.
Yes.
Denise is not a threat, Sandra states. Denise,
well, she's not a threat
when
like
Denise
we are.
asked about it, she says, Well, that's all open to interpretation. There are different types of threats in the context of the game, which is absolutely right.
She stays very professional.
Now, she's had lots of practice at tribal council and knows how to keep her cool, and it serves
That's
her well.
exactly what I was thinking at the time. You guys forget how many tribal councils she went to.
Yep.
She's used to this. Now, I'm sure she's not as calm as she appears, but you won't know it from her face. And I didn't, so.
And Jeremy gets the question about, is it old Sele versus old Dakal? And it certainly
much.
feels that way. And Tony says, oh, no, we know better than that. We're weighing all our options. Jeremy says something about staying strong so they don't have to come back to tribal again. And Denise makes her pitch. She says, well, I'm not a challenge beast, but the relationships you make now can lead to a solid game headed forward. And that's her play for
Makes
you
contact
wanna work
with
her.
Sandra. Yep.
Probst asks Jeremy if he's nervous, and he says, yes, I'm very nervous. Like a duck upside down. He's lost.
That was a cute. Give me a cute visual.
Yeah, that made Probst happy.
Oh, yeah.
The storyteller element that Jeremy had cooked up for him there in response to that question. Sandra says, yes, there's a numbers advantage. It's quite obvious. And when it's down to you or them, then it's clear what the answer is going to be.
And she says, if you have an advantage, you need to exploit it. It's them or you. You need to exploit your
In
advantages.
terms of the numbers, majority, that's right.
Which she did.
I was watching Jeremy to see if he was going to split, but he held on there as they go to vote.
Yeah, I really was a little bit surprised that he didn't go ahead and play it, but I think he was pretty confident
What we were shown was
that he was
coming
voting
towards
with
to
them
Denise.
and that it was going to go to Denise.
Yeah.
I would have liked to
Probst
have
comes-
checked his pulse when Denise played the idol for herself, though.
Yeah. Probst brings the votes back and asks if anyone has an idol they want to play, and Denise says, give me a minute. And Tony gets caught completely by surprise. Are you kidding me? Jeremy's hands go up and he covers his face.
Oh, no.
He's really worried about what's going to
I
happen
should
now.
have played it. I should have left.
So she plays an idol that Probst confirms is valid. No votes for Denise will count. And then he goes to count. And
But she goes back. This is what I like. She goes back. She sits down. She waits until Probst tells her that it is indeed a valid idol. Then she says, could I have one more minute?
Right. He goes to count and she interrupts him. And she plays it for Jeremy. What did you think about this choice?
I think in the long run it could serve her
How so?
by keeping Jeremy with her, and she's more likely to pull Kim in now and get the numbers without Sandra there.
At least they can draw even if they end up at tribal again.
Yes, they could, but I don't believe
terms
Sam
of-
would. That Kim would go with just Tony. I think she'd go with the two.
And by even, I mean old Sele, old Dakal. It would be a 2-2.
Yep.
So any votes cast for Denise or Jeremy will not count. Here come the votes. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Denise does not count. DNC, almost Denise right there. And then one vote. I was hoping it was Tony, but it was Sandra. Blammo.
We both had Tony.
Denise has been watching Survivor. She took that hidden immunity idol that was good there, used hers,
Thank you for your idol.
and voted her out. Similar to Sarah.
Oh, I'm not a threat.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Sandra informs us day 16 got
The
her again.
queen has been taken down. Now,
And
do
Tony,
you...
great finder of idols, is very confused.
It's like, how did she find
How
an
is
idol?
this possible, he asks.
I looked everywhere.
Denise was still nervous. She said she felt like she wanted to throw up, and Kim said, I'm impressed.
She should be. Okay, do you think Denise should have played it for Jeremy or kept it for her own protection?
I really fall on the side of she should have held on to it.
Yeah.
Because the one fire token to
It's
get the
very
one that was
strong.
good
Yeah.
right then to protect herself, and I think she could have talked Jeremy back in. Because he voted for her, and she chose not to vote him out when she could have. And she could use that as part of that discussion. And I think
Yeah.
she could have talked him back around to a 2-2 and them working to pull Kim in. So I don't know that it was strategically the best thing, but it's hard to see that those aren't easy choices. That's one of the most interesting aspects of watching the game, is watching to see how people make those choices and to think about what the implications are and what the alternatives they had to weigh were, because those just aren't easy and they don't have a lot of time to make those decisions. Because she seemed to make that deal with Sandra fairly late, just before tribal council. Don't know if that's exactly right. So she didn't have a whole lot of time to work that out. But Probst tells us it only takes one move to make you a high-profile player, and certainly
That was beautiful, Probst, I have to admit.
that was a great summary. And you and I are extremely biased. We had picked Denise to win the season as our Ultimate
Which
Survivor
I had
bonus
forgotten
choice.
until I don't know why I forgot.
And so watching her do her magic here was we were just
I was
ecstatic.
impressed anyway, and then I remembered, hey, wait, she's
Our
my
girl's
USB.
doing good. She's doing really
doing
good.
good.
Of course, now her rose way up on the radar as a big threat, and she joined Sarah's ranks as someone who's taken out the queen.
The truth is, I would have enjoyed that move, whoever did it. But it was nice that she did it.
I love that she popped Sandra like that.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
I think probably Sandra even appreciated it.
Possibly.
I mean, not that she wanted to go, but I think as Sandra is a huge fan. And I believe she respected that move as a fan.
She didn't respect it enough to award Denise a fire token.
Not in the moment, of course not.
And ended up giving her one fire token that she had just got through that transaction.
So I
She
think
didn't get the second one.
I think she's just wanting somebody old school to stay in there and win it,
Maybe.
or to join back up with if she gets back.
Yeah.
And she was on the tribe with Yul
Well, we saw
before the split.
Exactly. Yul and her, well, especially it seemed like Yul was making an investment in Sandra, so he was
And her and
willing
him,
to
so.
work with her when others may not have been.
Yeah, so I think that was somewhat strategic, just in case she were able to get back in. And I think that's probably one reason people aren't as upset, is that, well, they at least have a chance to get back in. I think her chances are slimmer than some of the others.
Do you think she'll
That
pull
are
the
out
flag?
there?
You think she'll even stay out there?
No, I think she'll stay.
Okay. And that she'll try to find fire tokens and
Yeah, I
she'll
think
do
she
the
will.
challenges while she's out there?
Yes, I do think she will. You don't?
I think she'll be challenged by it more than the others.
I think you don't give her enough credit.
Possibly.
But we'll see.
Yes.
Time will tell.
Anything else about the episode?
Just that it was awesome.
Yep, we enjoyed it. It's great seeing all the work Sophie put in and the rewards there, and then seeing Denise do this was just
Somebody poured awesome sauce all over it,
okay.
and it was delicious.
Gotcha. Next time on Survivor, more drama with Michele and Wendell.
Oh,
Just what I was hoping for. Not.
I want to say something before we move too far. Is Sandra saying, day 16 got me again? And I thought, no, Denise got you, not day 16.
Well, Denise one time and Sarah another.
Yep.
Michele tells us Wendell thinks it's us to the end.
Well, I just hope one of them leaves. I don't even care which one.
So you don't have to
I don't
endure
wanna see
any more of
any
these
more of-
exchanges.
Yeah, enough.
We see her saying to Wendell, I know exactly what you were doing last night.
Blah, 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 blah.
Which I'm curious what that was, because it wasn't clear to me what Wendell was doing outside of potentially shooting himself in the foot. And Wendell is not happy. He said, you put me on a leash, I'll turn around and bite you. Cut to Dakal, we see Jeremy saying, we like Tony, but he's the bigger threat, which is exactly the way Jeremy likes to play. He loves having a bigger threat in front of him. That's Operation Meat Shield right there. So it sounds like a negative, and it sounds like a target on Tony, but it's also exactly what Jeremy's looking for for his game.
Yeah, I don't know if he is as much right now. Tony can be a liability.
Can be, but I would
'Cause
say
he's-
Tony's one of the ones who's changed it up. He's certainly
Yeah.
done a little bit of his old ways, like with the Spy Shack this episode. But he's one of the ones that I think that's done a much better job adapting his game than quite a few
Really?
of the older school ones. Yeah. It's easy to hate on Tony if you don't like
I
his
don't
game.
hate on Tony at all.
Yeah, you do. You talk about
No,
him.
I don't.
Well, not hate, but you rag on Tony.
No, I don't.
You say he's not doing anything.
He's not as good in the challenges, and he isn't. That's
Okay.
just a statement of fact. I'm not trying to rag on him.
Not necessarily.
I don't even
Your
dislike him.
perception of him and what he offers in the context of the game isn't a positive one.
Okay.
But I think I've seen him modifying how he plays. At least that's what we're being fed in the edit, and that he is adapting. Yeah, he went back to the Spy Shack. It didn't serve him. So he ends up losing
he
out a
did.
little bit of credibility on that.
Yes, he did.
But there is a contrast in what Jeremy's saying out loud versus one of his primary strategies.
And he went a little nuts on Tribal Council Day, just like he did before. So he still has some of those things that go against him as well.
Okay.
But I like Tony fine. I just don't, and I have seen him play really well, but not seeing it as much right now,
Okay.
in my opinion. Sandra, as we said, gives her token to Yul. Now, Denise is down to 1 token, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Michele now has 4.
That's right.
Parv's down to 0,
Yep.
along with Rob and Tyson.
Tyson's not 0. Tyson has a fire token.
No, he
traded it.
doesn't.
Yes, he does. He sold it, the idle nullifier to Parvati and got a fire token. Oh, then
But
he spent it on the peanut
bought
butter.
peanut
right.
butter.
You're
So
right.
he's back to 0, like
You're
I said.
You're right.
I know that. Was just waiting for you
me to catch
up.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
Okay.
right.
Talk about mom and dad.
How about a JSFL update?
Nanner. I can do that. 4 people are now tied again for first place with 29 points. 22 USBs were lost for Parvati, 3 for Sandra. 51 people lost a safe point for Parv, and 159 for Sandra.
I'm in that group.
172 people gained a vote-off point for Parvati, and 80 for Sandra. Awesome.
I wonder if that's people who just had her listed as a vote out week after week.
I don't know, but there were 30 people who got the maximum 6 points.
Nice.
So they got everything correct. So that was I just had to look that up. So, okay, for the side challengers, in first place with 28 points, Jay Kindred. In second place with 27, Jeremiah. With 26, we have Parker and Stacy. With 25, Cold Mike and Jonathan. 24, Brandon, Cameron, Drew, Justin, and Rebecca. 23 points, Jack and Slappy. 22, Carl. And 21, Chris.
Okay. Hold the line, Chris. We all appreciate you, buddy.
Oh, it ain't nowhere near over yet.
Well, we're excited to hear what you thought about this episode here on week 6 and what predictions you may have going forward. I guess the big thing I thought was missing from Next Time on Survivor was there was no hint of a merge, which I was expecting.
Yeah, I was too.
So,
Doesn't mean it won't happen.
No, it was pretty innocuous what they offered. It seemed light. It was a very light tease for a Next Time on Survivor.
They're
so
not giving us much.
I'm expecting to get
No.
a little more detail when the trailers for the next episode drop.
Very little.
And hopefully there'll be some indication, because I didn't expect them to hold the merge off. But that'll be interesting too. So
Yeah.
lots of possibilities.
And we don't know whether it's going to be a 3-player or 2-player ending or...
I guess Kim is in the best position of Dakal right now with that idol, and then Jeremy's a close second with his safety so that he can exit tribal. Denise is without protection now, and
She needs to be out there.
I initially thought that they would replant an idol there. I'm not so sure, because Kim found the Dakal idol. That was the Sele idol that Denise played.
So you're thinking maybe they'll plan another one at Sele, but nobody will know.
Could be.
Interesting. Well, I don't know, but I would still look for one the next day anyway, just in
And
case.
so it works out that there are 3 groups of 4 now, 3 tribes of 4
'Tis true.
going forward. And we're excited to hear your thoughts on that. We do our listener feedback show on Saturday. Feedback is due by noon Pacific time. You can write it and send it in an email to joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com, or you can call the voicemail line 206-350-1547 or toll free 844-643-8737. Or you can record your own and send it as an attachment in the email. You can find all this information. It's always at getsfp.com. And then there's show notes, and you click on the little read more, and you can see all that information down below.
Yeah, you always have links to this and that and the other.
Yeah, you can find all the places where the podcast is available. There's a little set of links at the top in the banner with a lot of those too, and then there's a few more down below. All the good stuff's there. We're looking forward to hearing from you. We've been having these great listener feedback shows to go along with the awesome episodes. So we look forward to hearing from you. We've got a very stressful, uncertain situation we're all living through right now, and to have this bit of entertainment, this little bit of escape can be, it's one of the best things for you to drop your cortisone levels
That's
a little
right.
bit and just enjoy some entertainment.
Get lost in the entertainment.
Yeah, so step away and come share your thoughts with us. We're looking forward to hearing what the other super fans have to say. Anything else you want to add?
I really am anxious to see what other people thought.
Yes, and how they see it playing out in each of the tribes going forward.
Yeah, where it's going now.
Did these vote out choices make sense to you, or do you think there was a better path? We look forward to hearing all that and more come Saturday. Have a good one.
Good night, everybody.